Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Muntasya from class D. So today I'm going to explain about chapter 5, the direct instruction model. Introduction. The direct instruction model is a popular instructional method in all types of educational environments, from preschool to high school and beyond. Teachers favor it because its implementation yields positive and measurable student learning outcomes through an efficient use of time and resources. Students like it because it provides clear targets, a supportive structure for their learning, and feedback at important stage of the learning process. Teachers like it because when matched with appropriate learning goals, lessons designed with the direct instruction model have a proportionately large impact on student learning when compared with the amount of time and energy required for planning and implementation. The next is, what is the direct instruction model? The direct instruction model is a popular teacher-directed approach for addressing factual, procedural, and conceptual knowledge in all content areas and grade levels. In this model, the teacher's role is to understand and introduce new content in a prescriptive way to students. The teacher provides students with expert guidance by sharing with them knowledge and insights gained from experience and study. The student's role is to listen, learn, practice, and apply the knowledge, skills, or procedures he or she is taught. And this is figure 5.1. Sample content to explore using the direct instruction model. The subjects are art, health or physical education, language arts, mathematics, music, social studies, science, and their concepts. What are the history and origins of the direct instruction model? The direct instruction model emerged from a behaviorist view of the teaching and learning process, B.F. Skinner's 1953. A theory of operant conditioning was highly influential in its development and informed much research on the model efficacy. The model is consistent with Skinner's theory proposing that all behavior results from external stimuli. In the direct instruction model, an individual's response or voluntary behavior is directly related to a stimulus in the environment. Research on the teacher effectiveness and observational learning shows that the steps within the direct instruction model influence learning in many positive ways. Kachak and Egan 2012, especially when used to teach content that can be broken into discrete segments with outcomes that can be observed and measured. When should the direct instruction model be applied and why? The first is teach procedural knowledge that has clearly defined steps and concepts with clear attributes. The second is introduce new topics. The third is reinforce foundational knowledge and skills. And the last is teach procedures, skills, or techniques that students can replicate. The next is, what are the steps in the direct instruction model? And there is a figure 5.2, teacher and student roles in the direct instruction model. Uh, Direct instruction model steps are introduction, presentation, guided practice, and independent practice. And there are teacher's role and student's role. What does the direct instruction model look like in the classroom? Such as scenario 5.1, scenario 5.2, and scenario 5.3 on the book. What do these scenarios illustrate? The scenarios show just some of the varied contexts in which the direct instruction model can be used. The teachers in the three scenarios use different tools and techniques and work with learners in various subjects and grade levels, yet each implementation of the model progresses through the same basic steps in a predictable order. In each scenario, teachers established and purpose for learning, presented new information, and then provided their students opportunities for guided and independent practice. Students were actively involved when the teacher presented new information. They were also engaged during the guided practice, even as the teacher gradually withdrew support in response to their growing proficiency. Nonetheless, in each circumstance, instruction was teacher led and directed. The next is planning for teaching with the direct instruction model. The first is choose factual, conceptual, or procedural knowledge that has clearly defined attributes or steps. The second is develop clear goals and expectations. The third is review the knowledge and skills to be taught. And the last is select appropriate problems, examples, or models. The next is differentiating instruction with the direct instruction model. The first is content. Teachers who differentiate instruction hold high expectation for all learners and do not differentiate the content that is learned or the curriculum standards by expecting less of some learners. Instead, they attempt to support the differentiation of content by differentiating how their students access or experience the content. Traditionally, a teacher would use real-time demonstrations in front of a whole class or small group to present new content and provide opportunities for guided practice. The second is process. The very design of the direct instruction model supports the needs of diverse learners during the learning process. The model steps include a straightforward and logical process for presenting new information that supports students who benefit from structured learning experience. For example, students with attention difficulties. The model also helps students such as English language learners who benefit from initial direct teacher support that gradually decreases as their student proficiency develops. Teachers using the direct instruction model can differentiate the process by infusing variety in student groupings and offering different choices for practicing the content. Instead of moving through each model step as a whole class, students can be divided into pairs or small groups during any step of the model. The third is product. In the direct instruction model, differentiating the learning product involves providing multiple ways for students to demonstrate their learning during the independent practice step. Student might be assigned a specific option for expression of learning, or they might be allowed to make their own choice from a reasonable range of options. What are the benefits of applying the direct instruction model? The first benefit is helps to develop thinking skills. The second is helps to develop automaticity. The third is fosters independent learning, and the last is promotes knowledge of self. The next is, what value does technology add to the direct instruction model? And this is figure 5.3, technology tools for the direct instruction model. Using planning, implementing, assessing, and there are the tools. The next is figure 5.4, example of a paper or pencil sentence diagram, and figure 5.5, example of a word process sentence diagram. Direct instruction model lesson plan example. Figure 5.6, outline of the direct instruction model lesson steps. The first is introduction. The direct introduction model lesson. Teacher describes lesson objectives to students. Students watch and listen to the teacher. The second, presentation. Teacher presents new content and demonstrates concept mapping. Teacher shows how to create a concept map using a concept mapping tool. The teacher explains each step in creating a concept map as he or she creates it. Students watch and listen. The third, guided practice. Teacher demonstrates how to create a concept map using concept mapping tool. Students create their own concept map too. Teacher watches and advises students as they practice and stops to ensure that all students are creating their own concept maps at the same pace. The fourth, independent practice. Students create their own concept map independently using a concept mapping tool. Students create their concept maps. The teacher circulates around the room to provide assistance as needed. This work will be assist later to ensure understanding of the new content. The next is differentiation strategies for the direct instruction model lesson. The first is content. Although the content of instruction usually cannot be differentiated, it is possible to differentiate the materials used to present that content information. Simple possibilities include varying who or what presents the information. For example, a person, video, computer program, another student, etc. In this lesson, information about graphic organizers could be presented in several ways. First, students might experience a recorded and narrated PowerPoint presentation delivered by their teacher made using a screen capture tool such as Camtasia. Another way to vary the content presentation would be to provide support for hearing impaired student by having the teacher wear an augmentative device. By amplifying the teacher's voice, students who have auditory auditory difficulties are better able to receive important information. The information in PowerPoint could also be provided in a printed outline format to all students or just those who need it. The next is process. The direct instruction model always follows the steps indicated. However, the grouping of students and the tools used to support learning, for example, manipulatives, instructional handouts, instructional models, kinds of instructions provided in these handouts may be varied. Intentional, homogeneous, and heterogeneous groupings can be used. For example, the students might be asked to work together in groups to complete the graphic organizer at the beginning of the lesson, or to scaffold student learning more effectively during the guided practice portions of the model. The next is product. The type of final product expected from students may be differentiated in several ways. For instance, with the direct instruction model lesson, students may use concept mapping tools, example, inspiration software, or pencil and paper, offering students a choice as to how they might demonstrate their learning, as long as they show mastery of the content presented and practiced through guided practice in beneficial. So I think that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.